I'm Chris Sasaki, Creative Director for Forza Motorsport. We are bringing new racing dynamics, visual fidelity, and gameplay detail to every track. This includes weather, 24-hour day-night cycles, and track evolution. More tracks are coming to Forza Motorsport after our launch on October 10th, including past favorites and brand new challenges to keep the competition fresh and exciting. We can't wait to share more. I'm Chris Sasaki, Creative Director for Forza Motorsport. We are bringing new racing dynamics, visual. Hi, I'm Chris Sasaki, Creative Director for Forza Motorsport. We are bringing new racing dynamics, visual fidelity, and gameplay detail to every track. This includes weather, 24-hour day-night cycles, and track evolution. More tracks are coming to Forza Motorsport after our launch on October 10th, including past favorites and brand new challenges to keep the competition fresh and exciting. We can't wait to share more. See you at the starting line.
Get into one of my cars, you get in the win.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Hey guys, this is Matt Hagan, three-time funny car world champion, and you're watching Drafting the Circus.
Green flag back in the air. Harvick on the inside, Buscher on the outside.
Remember, no rules for locking bumpers, but these cars have been very uncomfortable pushing through the corner, but I think we're going to see it anyways here in these last two laps.
That outside line, big push from Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski, 7 super speedway wins. Wow, a little bit of contact with the 4.
Harvick up there and caught the left rear quarter panel.
Logano was trying really hard to get to the outside. Couldn't make it work.
RFK Racing, 1 and 2 now. Buscher with Brad Keselowski behind him. Coming out of 4.
Harvick to the inside now. He's got some help still. Chase Elliott back there. Can he get to the bumper?
There's the white flag. 1 more to go.
Huge push on the outside from the 6. 3 cars in tandem.
Now, will the bumper stay locked? The 6 of Brad Keselowski trying to push that 17. Here comes Harvick in the 4.
Big push from the 10. He stays committed to the 6 down the back straightaway.
Elliott pushing the 4. Buscher and Keselowski. Now, which line will they take through 3 and 4 for the final time? Buscher separates a car length between he and Keselowski.
Brad's got no help. I don't think he gets back there to the 17.
As they come to the tri-oval, Buscher's going to win at Daytona. And with that, Bubba Wallace is locked into the playoffs on points.
Oh, man. Way to go. Nice job, Herb.
3 wins already this year.
Nice job.
For Chris Buscher, the resurgence of RFK.
Driver, start your
Good evening, race fans. Welcome to the Hoobazoo Radio Network and welcome to the Drafting the Circus program. My name is Frank Santarowski. I'll be your host for the next hour as we talk about everything racing and preview next week. Joining me, Richard Uden. Just the 2 of us tonight, right?
Just the 2 of us.
Just the Richard and Frank show. Luis Torres off on assignment, but still, Luis Torres Multimedia. I'll get it right this week for you, buddy. Thank you. And Levi also off on assignment. Want to thank our sponsor. I don't know if you noticed, got a couple new trailers up there. Our ad for Forza Motorsport has been updated. There's new changes in the game where the weather can change within the game, which is pretty cool, right? Really mimics actual, racing there. And trailer for a new Ferrari movie, movie about Enzo Ferrari, where Adam Driver is playing the lead there. And Keith asked me to make a corny joke about Adam Driver playing, Enzo early when Enzo was still a driver, but it looks like the film is going to be outstanding. So, go ahead and watch it. Also, thank you to the Alzheimer's Association. So, Richard, let's start down in sunny Florida, where Daytona was finishing up the NASCAR regular season, setting the playoff field, crowning the regular season champion, who will be William Byron. I honestly don't even know if that's a thing.
Martin Truex Jr. was the regular season champion, wasn't he?
I don't know.
He didn't have the most wins, but he had the most points.
That's okay. The note I've got is got them tied on points. 5 wins to 3. That's the one I looked at. But what? They never even. I don't even know if regular season champion is still a thing. Honestly,
it is.
I mean, they made a big deal about it the first year Martin won and gave him a trophy and everything else, but I haven't heard anything about it this week. So,
no. It was. I'm just pulling it up here. Martin Truex Jr. is the 2003 regular season champion. Tied for the points lead. So yeah, you basically end up getting 15 bonus points going into the playoffs. So I think the way it fundamentally works is that now both Martin and William Byron are basically locked in till a round of 8. I think they'd have to have a pretty
right. They're
disastrous.
They're even on points going in.
Yeah.
So
and everybody gets a minimum of 2,000 points, and then all their bonus points that are accrued throughout the season for wins and the like are added onto that, and stage wins. With two of the guys in there. I mean, if you look at it, Keselowski's actually 9th in the standings without a win. So, it's certainly very doable. But yeah, Martin won the regular season standings.
Yeah, because nobody ever mentioned it, and I just looked at the points that had Byron listed first and Truex second.
Yeah,
five, 1 to 3, same amount of points. I think they're both starting with 20-36 on the points. So
no, it's a little bit more. How they do it. But,
yeah. So all right. So on virtue of Christopher Buescher winning the race, that was a repeat winner. So we didn't have a new winner. Third win in the last 5 races, as a matter of fact. I mean, these guys are on a roll. And it was a 1-2 for RFK Racing. Brad Keselowski came in second, Daytona. So by that virtue, it was Bubba Wallace over Ty Gibbs getting that last playoff spot.
Yep.
And then next to last, another winless driver, Harvick down there.
Yep.
So we'll see playoffs beginning of the week. So. But the Daytona race itself, what do you think about it, Richard? It seemed to me like it put on some pretty interesting racing, some 3 and 4 wide at times.
Yeah, we're certainly seeing that with the new car, the next gen car. You're seeing, the ability to run 2-3 wide, on a pretty regular basis at these super speedways. You're seeing less and less single file running, which is certainly, better from an entertainment standpoint for the fans. Now, it does lead to the inevitable issues that we saw at the end of the second stage there, and then towards the end of the race, with the two pretty intense wrecks that we saw for Ryan Blaney and Ryan Preece. So not a good day for the Ryans at Daytona this last weekend. But it's the nature of restrictor plate racing, or whatever you can call it. It's not genuine restrictor plate these days, but this style of racing,
super speedway racing, call it, I guess, right? So
and it is what it is.
Well, we've got some video of let's take a look at the Ryan Blaney one first there, because that one was kind of scary in the fact that he went nose first to the wall. So, but Keith, go ahead and play the clip, and then we'll kind of break it down.
Rick, it's good to see Ryan Blaney walk out of the infield care center. Man, what happened from your perspective, and are you okay?
Yeah, I think I'm okay. I don't really know what happened. I saw, the replay, and I'm guessing the 54 just got turned into my right rear, and unfortunately we got in the fence. So, yeah, it stinks. A lot of cars got tore up. Thought we made a good move to try to, it looks like you kind of got him in a weird spot. And, that's not fun. It stinks. I mean, our Advanced Auto Parts Ford Mustang was really fast and came from the back to the front multiple times, and thought we made a good move to try to win the stage, and just, that stinks. Nothing you can really do there. Unfortunate, but fast Mustang. Appreciate Advanced Auto Parts, and looking forward to getting to Darlington next week.
Yeah, good to see Ryan Blaney is okay, obviously in the playoffs for the win at Charlotte earlier this year, Rick.
All right, so you can see that pretty violent impact there. And again, it's very reminiscent of the crash that took Dale Earnhardt's life there at that same racetrack. Although, there have been serious improvements to both the cars and the driver's personal safety equipment in the last 22 years. Probably the most significant of which is the head and neck restraint, the Haas device that all the drivers are required to wear now, which really has prevented a lot of guys from these, what they call basilar skull fractures. So, but it looked like Blaney came out unscathed, although that was a heck of a hit.
Yeah, it was a nasty incident. You saw a little bit of stacking up behind them. I think Chris Bell got in the back of Ty Gibbs there, and Ty ended up, going a little low and catching Blaney's left rear quarter panel and just turned him into the wall there. And yeah, that was a big impact. That was pretty nasty, and it certainly, as horrible as it is, got everybody's attention pretty quickly, given, as you said, the similarity to some previous incidents we've seen at that corner in the past. The similarities were pretty eerie in a way. It wasn't a good look, but thankfully, these cars are a lot safer than having in the past. The safer barrier did its job. How it moved, you can see, the movement in the safer barrier during the impact. It did exactly what it was meant to do, and again, if you look at that accident and you look at the car compared to some of other cars in similar incidents, the crumple zone's a lot longer and a lot bigger, and certainly absorbed more of the impact, which meant the driver took less of the impact. So, these sort of incidents are part and parcel of the super speedway racing. So you've got to make the cars safe, and they did a reasonably good job in this impact. I'm sure even today, 4 or 5 days post race, Ryan's pretty sore and pretty stiff. You don't get over an impact like that overnight, but the good thing is he got out the car, and he's hopefully going to be racing at Darlington this coming weekend. But testament to the teams that build these cars, testament to NASCAR that does that, and the work they've gone through at times. They receive criticism for some of these newer cars, and we know that the next gen car has had some issues with some of the drivers absorbing impacts that they're maybe not used to. And on a side note, pre-race we did see Kurt Busch announce his retirement from full-time from racing, which is unfortunately I think expected that a year or so after that wreck he had in Pocono. Which again, NASCAR worked very, very hard on the rear clips of these cars to help improve their strength and safety on these rear quarter panel impacts. But yeah, it's great to see him walk away. But you can't hide from the danger of these things. The more impacts we have like this, the more accidents we have like this, at some point we're going to be unlucky, and we've got to be very, very careful and not resting on laurels with this one.
All right, so now just a few weeks ago, you and I were talking about the under tray of the Gen 7 car, or the next gen car, current gen. It's hard to keep up with them, right? So yeah. But but we got a good look at what that under tray actually looks like, thanks to a wreck with Ryan Preece, and I don't mean to make light of it, but this is the type of accident that we would occasionally see back in the 90s, before they installed like the roof flaps and the hood flaps and those sort of things, and other bits of aero to keep the cars on the ground. We don't see this a lot anymore at all, but it was it was spectacular to see, and horrifying at the same time. But again, we had a driver that walked away.
Gingerly.
eventually, he was first taken in a stretcher, but he seems to be doing pretty well. So Keith, let's have a look at that one then. The Ryan Preece.
Oh, look out, trouble further back. One car is up and over, barrel rolling down the back straightaway. It is Ryan Preece, end over end, side over side, as the car breaks loose, and now will catch flame in a horrific crash on the back straightaway. Flames are extinguished for the most part. Now reactivate under the hood. Ryan Preece, end over end, side over side, basically turning pirouettes down the backstretch.
Talk to me if you can. Got me, bud. Talk to me, buddy. I haven't heard him. Have you heard him? I have not heard him, no. Key your mic if you can hear me. He's out. Yeah, he's out. He's good. Yeah, 43 just got us at the wrong angle, turned us left. So much for him staying on the fucking ground. Yeah, no shit. We're gonna kill somebody at one of these places. I've never seen a race car flip that many times. Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, so as you can see, very horrifying there. Yeah, and again, we'd see this often in the 90s. I remember Rusty Wallace taking a hell of a tumble at Talladega one time. And even just recently in IndyCar with Simon Pagenaud with the whole, with the car kind of spinning like that, it looked kind of eerily similar to that, albeit, you know, a much different car. So again, but we did get a good look at that, that underbody of the car, that under tray that some drivers are calling to, have that under tray removed so they can get a little more. Is it less downforce that they want on the?
Yeah.
But yeah, they were talking about it out for the Indy Oval. So, well, I mean, nobody in charge is talking about it. It's just drivers, you know, jacking up the jaw, running their mouths. So,
imagine that.
Imagine that. Yep.
But no, they did a you know, the job that they did with that, for want of a better word, is, you know, I think the dynamic of this accident, and the thing that makes it very hard, is that the car was sideways when it started to get lift. You know, these roof flaps you were mentioning earlier, you know, they're designed to prevent lift when the car's going in a straight line. When it gets sideways like that, it's very hard to prevent the lift because the car very rarely travels in that direction. The scary thing for me in that whole accident was the first impact, the escape hatch came out, which it's not designed to do. On the super speedways, teams are mandated to run basically an escape hatch above the driver's seat, so that you know, in an instance where the chassis is compromised and they can't extract the driver through the driver's window, they can at least get to and provide medical attention through the roof. And that blew off on the first impact, which was a bit of a concern. But, you know, again, you look back at, you know, we've talked about this in the past when we've seen some of these big impacts. This was the best type of impact in a way for the driver to go through, because it was a very slow deceleration. It was a very violent accident, yeah, and the, you know, the driver being thrown around inside the car certainly isn't a comfortable experience for him. But the fact that it slowly, you know, came to rest, and you know, the car's designed to withstand those impacts. You know, the final impact was the scariest one for me when it landed on its roof prior to righting itself. That was a clean impact flat on the roof, and that was yeah, that was that was a nasty one. That one had me worried, because these cars, you can design them as strong as you want for a single point impact. You know, NASCAR will crash test them by, you know, like your road car will be crash tested, you know, on a skid down into a wall, you know, going head on, going at an angle. They'll roll the car, they'll you know, do all these sort of things. But once it's survived that initial impact, there's every possibility that the chassis is compromised, and where, you know, what happens to the chassis after that initial impact is very, very, very hard to predict, and where it's going to, you know, fall.
Fail, yeah. Know? So
yeah, no, very, very lucky there. But again, you know, NASCAR will take both of those cars, I'm sure, back to their R&D center and do a lot of research and a lot of learning and understanding about what they can do in the future to help protect the drivers further.
All right, but again, the you know, the upside of the story is both those drivers lived to race another day. Yeah, which is just one of the wonderful things about the sport this day and age. How far we have come in safety, from when I started racing in the 70s. But, prior to that, it was, it was an accepted part of the game, but now it's not. So, all right. So we are off to Darlington for the first round. Lady in Black. Yep. So, fun little track, interesting drive to get there. You've got to go through some pretty rural areas that, if you're a city boy like me, it could be a little nerve-wracking, I guess.
I remember driving. I've driven down there a couple of times from North Carolina. It's a really, as you say, a rural place to get to, and some interesting scenery along the way. There's a trailer park you drive past about 4 or 5 miles from the track, and there was some sights there, that's for sure.
It really is a throwback to NASCAR's past. It is, certainly one of the oldest tracks on the schedule, but it's in a very remote area, and of course, Martinsville comes close too. Martinsville is kind of in a bit of a remote area, but it's not quite as out in the sticks, I guess is the word for it, as Darlington is. But those are two of NASCAR's oldest tracks, and that just preserves the feel of old NASCAR. So, Richard, since you always bow out of making NASCAR predictions, I guess it's just up to me to go ahead and pick a winner for Darlington. So what if I say that RFK continues their role that they're on, and Keselowski wins this one? How would you feel about that, Richard? You're making faces like, Keselowski's a prior Darlington winner.
Keselowski's won at most places, hasn't he?
Well, this is quite true, as AJ Foyt would say.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a good call. I think that after we haven't had, you're right to a certain extent. The RFK have won the last two, what I would call conventional races. We've always had Daytona, which they won, but it's a crapshoot, and then the two road courses. But then they won Richmond and was it Michigan? The previous two races to that. So they're the defending conventional NASCAR track winners. So, they're probably going to be there or thereabouts. Are they genuine championship contenders? I don't know.
They're working in that direction. That still might be.
I think it's too early.
It still might be 3 years maybe in the future till they're on a level with a Gibbs or a
Hendrick or somebody. Yeah, and also it's something that I harp on about over the years. Winning championships and winning races isn't about being fast. It's about not making mistakes from an execution standpoint. And, that comes with experience. And do RFK, obviously they've been very successful in the past, under the Roush organization, they're championship winners on from an engine perspective and a team perspective. But, does the current crop of engineers and mechanics and pit guys have that steely sort of not determination, but are they going to be a little rabbit in headlights when it comes to the big boys games? I don't know.
I don't know, but the interesting
I think one of them will get through the first round. Do I think we'll be in the last 8? I think both of those cars will drop out before the round of 8.
Okay, fair enough. But let's not forget this fact: RFK got 100% of their cars into the playoffs, whereas Hendrick got 50% of his cars in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're the only manufacturer to get all of their cars in, aren't they?
No, all the Fords didn't get in. Austin Cindric
didn't all of the in terms of the team. Penske didn't get Cindric in, did they? They got Logano
and Blaney. Yeah, they didn't get Cindric in.
Gibbs missed out with Ty.
Right.
2311 got both 23-11 got both of their drivers in.
Yes, they did. You're absolutely right. Denny and Bubba were both in the
Contrary
playoffs.
to most fans' opinion.
Yeah. Poor old Bubba. I tell you,
Yep.
people are unnecessarily hard on that guy, you know? So, and then of course, you know, when he has something fall fortuitously his way, as in he picks up the last spot in the playoffs, suddenly it's a conspiracy theory. Yep. You know, where I didn't see anything in the results that could have been manipulated to make sure that he got in.
You didn't look hard enough. You didn't look hard enough. If you look hard enough, you will find it.
Okay.
Maybe like, you know, they need to start lobbying NASCAR, you know, find me those points. I only need another 20 points. Somebody find me those points. Sorry. That's for our election interference podcast coming up later.
Yep. All right. So is Darlington a night race this go around? No, it's
no, I don't think so.
It has been in the past. There. Sure they do. Yeah, they've had because they've done the Labor Day one at night before.
Oh yeah, they do, because I remember when they did the first two post-COVID races, didn't they, at night?
Yeah, sure did.
So then at 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
because it's the Memorial Day weekend, isn't it? So it's the
Labor Day.
Labor Day. So I always get this too confused.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Yeah, so it's a Sunday night or Sunday evening night race.
Right, or with the weather as we've had this year, it could be a Monday afternoon.
Be on Thursday or something.
Yeah. All right, so let's move our attention to INDYCARs, where we finished up the weekend at Worldwide Technology Raceway, otherwise known as Gateway, out there in the St. Louis area. Everybody was looking for Joseph Newgarden to win there and sweep all the ovals in a season, which would have been a feat that has not been done before. Although Louise likes to mention that Sebastian Bourdais swept all the ovals in Champ Car in a season where they had one oval race. So I'm not going to count that as sweeping all the ovals. But so Newgarden, yeah, he qualified well, he ran well, he was up front, but that wall caught him. That wall caught him in the last third of the race, and pretty much put an end to his championship run. He's now eliminated from the championship. And the guy that did win was the guy who won the previous race, Scott Dixon.
He was just toying with us, wasn't he? He was just toying with us.
So here's the thing, right? So Dixon has tightened up that points lead that was as much as 110 or 112 down to 78 points. Now still, that's weighs heavily in Palou's favor, right? I think it gives Palou 88% chance to win to Dixon, 12% chance to win, or however that works out.
That's pretty generous, I think.
Yeah, I want to say it's
95%,
95 and 5, right? So, but if there's anybody that can make the most out of that 5%, it's Scott flipping Dixon. I'm telling you, here's a guy who's, he has 6 championships for a reason, right? And he would probably have 9 if it weren't for the fact that he had a teammate named Dario Franchitti, who was probably the only guy that consistently beat him. And that guy is not, ever since Dario has went away, Scott has been the absolute top of the game there. Yeah. And if you look at what he pulled off in Gateway, right? He started, he started kind of midfield, but he ended up with a 22-second lead, right?
3 cars on the lead lap, wasn't it?
Yeah, but they say he, by stretching the fuel, right? So, but if you look at the stats here, okay, see a lot of guys. If you look at it, Scott Dixon did this race on 3 pit stops. The guys in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 5 pit stops, 2 fewer pit stops than the rest of the guys, right? And this is number 1, managing the fuel, which is a part of it. But the bigger part of it is managing the tires. Because here we used alternate tires for the first time on an oval.
Oh, yeah.
Which almost certainly caused a lot of these guys an extra stop, right? Where they had to run a shorter stint. So these guys, literally the 5 pit stops, they were pitting for tires before they really needed fuel. So, but Dixon was able to, do a full stint on the reds where other guys didn't. Plus, stretch out his fuel and stretch out his black tires, and it's just Scott Dixon doing Scott Dixon kind of things. And at the end of the day, here's Scott Dixon with race win number 55. And again, like Palou's lead is still pretty substantial, but Dixon's not going to let him be comfortable with that lead. No, I mean, and you've got coming up on the schedule here, a couple tracks that Dixon has won at, Portland and Laguna. So, it's going to get a little interesting right at the end, although it could certainly, Portland could end it all. Certainly could be clinched. I think if Palou finishes 6th, it's over.
6th or better, yeah. I think he will do.
For a guy whose average finish is 3.8 this year, yeah. So it's a tall order, but again, like if you're handing out tall orders to somebody, Scott Dixon's your guy. So, all right. So, and again, like, that's pretty much what were you? Did you get a chance to watch the race itself?
I watched the highlights. Unfortunately, my DVR took a shit in the middle of trying to record it, so I
hate when that happens.
I was trying to avoid the. That's one thing that annoys me about the INDYCAR app is if you get push notifications to your phone, it tells you what's happening during the race. And I'm recording it for a reason, so don't tell me. Just the Formula One push notifications are like, oh, the race has started. Oh, it's halfway. Oh, there's been a winner. Oh, who could have won this week? Max Verstappen.
Now you can turn push notifications off, right?
I know, but I want it for all the other things apart from the race. I want it for all the other notifications.
So you turn it off during the race, right?
I shouldn't have to just let it farting around that.
Richard, listen. The world happens in real time. Okay.
I know, but my DVR didn't happen in real time, did it?
Well, that's the thing. So it falls on you to keep yourself away from the information. Turn off your. I get people that like tell me on the Facebook page we run Elite IndyCar. Hey, can you guys wait to post the results because I haven't had a chance to watch the race yet because I DVR'd it. I'm like, no,
post it there. Yeah.
Stay off of Facebook, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's but you guys ruined it for me. No, you ruined it by yourself by jumping in an IndyCar group on race day because what? You know what? The rest of us saw the race and we would like to talk about it. You join us when you're ready, right? So so Richard, the world happens in real time.
Yeah,
turn off your notifications. Okay.
So unnecessary.
I know. It's so hard to press the settings button and slide the toggle. Your poor finger must hurt.
Every race, every
damn race. I tell you.
But no, it was. So I did get to see the highlights, and it's. I mean, goodness, if you want to take Scott Dixon's career and summarize it in one race, that was it.
That was it. Mm-hmm.
Man, you could say that about almost every race he's won. It was just classic Scott Dixon, and we're going to miss it when he retires, aren't we? It's so good. So good.
I mean, you talk about, just like teaching the clinic is, I've heard that teaching the clinic cliche used with Dixon hundreds of times, you know, so. All right. So some off-track news, Juri Vips, we had talked about him possibly joining Rahal. And so he is going to be in the Rahal car for the last 2 races of the season. Replacing Jack Harvey, who was let go. Harvey is trying to find a deal for next year. I don't know what he's got in the works. I mean, there are a few possible landing spots for him. There's a few moving parts still out there in the IndyCar world. But Juri Vips, and here's a guy who is coming off a tough time, right? Where he said some comments publicly that he shouldn't have, that anybody with a better sense of mind should have. It's the same thing Kyle Larson did, use a racial slur during gaming. But this guy, he's just looking for some redemption. I guess his career is more or less done in Europe. So I figure fewer people know him over here, but we're already, that guy, the guy that got fired by Red Bull. So, I mean, but obviously if the kid's running, in the Red Bull Junior program, right? He's got some talent, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's tested with the Rahal team twice in the past before this incident with the racial slur. Let's just see how he does behind the wheel. Another interesting fact is that he'd be, I believe, the first IndyCar driver from Estonia. You know, we don't have that many drivers from the Baltic states out there. I mean, you've got, David Malukas, whose parents were born in Lithuania, but David himself is Chicago born.
Did Thomas Eng ever do an IndyCar race?
I want to say, I think he did some Champ Car.
Yeah. He
Perhaps,
was Czechoslovakian, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that's not Baltic. That's
no, it's not quite. Is
that's
it?
That's Eastern Europe, Eastern European. They call that. Yeah. So, but so Juri Vips, we'll see how he does it. It's essentially an audition or an evaluation for who they're going to put in that car next year, and there are decent guys available for that seat if it turns out that they don't want to put a rookie in there. Roman Grosjean is telling people he's got something lined up for 2024 in IndyCar, although we don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but certainly there's a seat at Shank, there's seats at Coyne, there's a seat at Rahal. There may or may not be a seat at I forgot. Carpenter.
McLaren?
Yeah.
Oh no,
Carpenter, because they only signed Hunter Ray for the balance of this season, so I don't know if they're going to retain him for next year either. So, and there may be a seat at McLaren, because McLaren's saying they're not retaining Felix. So, and of course the most of the smart money is putting Malukas at Andretti, replacing Grosjean. Felix at Shank, replacing Pagenaud, or replacing Elio, rather. No, Tom Blomquist is replacing Pagenaud. So we'll have to see. Some of these things are not announced yet. The one big domino that we do know is that Marcus Ericsson is going to Andretti. That's that one has been signed. And then, of course, the guys that are on longer term contracts that aren't going anywhere include all the Penske guys. Dixon, I believe Armstrong is slated to come back to Ganassi. The Pelot's not been announced at Ganassi for next year yet. So, although that's widely rumored, despite any rumors to the of Austin Martin, right? That's like the latest one to come up with. When I heard that, when they were talking like for 2026 when they switched to Honda. So I don't know who plans get that far in advance, So I don't know, but so Tom Blomqvist is going to finish out the season for Michael Shank Racing. Simon Pagenaud done for the season. His last communication via social media said that he's just not cleared to drive. He's having lingering concussion effects, and he's working with a great team of doctors, and he hopes to be back next year. But again,
I'm sure I'd heard that he'd been cleared to drive, but he didn't want to drive because it was an oval, and he wanted to take which race that was.
That was Iowa. Was a doubleheader.
Yeah.
And it wasn't him that didn't want to drive. It was the doctors wouldn't clear him. And that was the story at the time. But, I
think it doesn't add up in all of this. I think it's, we look at Ryan Preece's wreck, and we look at, some of these other big impacts we've seen in this wasn't that big of an impact. He didn't hit anything solid. He never hit the wall, in the same way that Ryan Preece did. It was the barrel rolls, and I'm sure it rung his bell, and it was pretty dramatic. But was it the biggest impact we've seen? No. Is there something else going on that we don't know about? I don't know. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist here, but something doesn't quite add up with me on this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, the word from the team owners is that it's. They want him back in the car, and it's all, medical clearance. These type of injuries affect different people different ways. So, and some of it depends on how many similar injuries you may have had in the past. That was the case with both Dario Franchitti and Dale Earnhardt Jr. They had enough got their bells rung enough in the past that they're saying one more big one. So so I don't think that there's anything more going on than the fact that the doctors are just seeing lingering symptoms. It's like remember how Kurt Busch?
Yeah.
No, you're
right.
That drug on week after week. They say, okay, maybe next week, and then, next thing you know, here we are calling it a day. So, Blomquist is going to finish up there. It's about all the IndyCar news that I've got right here. We've been talking about the off-season stuff and the off-track stuff the last couple of weeks. We are headed off to Portland, where it's the fun thing to see is who's going to wreck in the lap one on the festival curves. But, Richard, if you had to pick a winner from Portland, who do you like? I know it's hard to pick. He needs to win a race this year. Yeah, I would love him to see his streak alive. Yeah, for sure. I'm going to say Palou wins the thing and just sews it up. Yeah. Which definitely possibly can do that. So, all right. So let's move over to the Dutch Grand Prix. And it's a shame that there's no Dutch drivers in Formula One that people could root for. Oh, no, wait a minute. There is that one guy.
Yeah, what's his name?
Max Verstappen, right? So,
yeah, something like that, yeah. His dad was quite good.
Yeah, Jos Verstappen. Yeah, he did some IndyCar. How many races has Max won in a row now? Is it 10?
9.
Is it 9? So, yeah.
Matched Seb Vettel's record.
Vettel's record, yeah. I remember when Vettel beat the record. The previous record was Alberto Ascari.
Yeah.
So, but I think the difference, I think Vettel's 8 in a row or 9 in a row wrapped
the 2 seasons.
Yeah.
As were Ascari's. I think
Ascari's
season,
wrapped a season too. So, but Max has got 9 legitimately in one season, with, several more races to go. This, the championship is over.
Yep.
So, the biggest thing to see is who's on the podium this week. And we saw, Alonso and Pierre Gasly on the podium.
Yep.
Which is, Alonso's not been a stranger to the podium this year. He's
had a
couple of third places early in the season. But now he's on the second step there. It's pretty good. Gasly, that's a good finish for him. I think a lot of Gasly and Gasly's talent. So and that's good for the that team. And then I think Checo was 4th.
So Checo finished 3rd on the road, but he got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. As did, I think Esteban Ocon got a penalty as well for the same thing. And I think what happened because they were going from wet to slick to intermediate to wet tires on a pretty regular basis, because the tires are a different radius, they're obviously, the car will, the axle rotates at the same speed, but the actual car will, the wheel, car speed is higher.
So the pit speed limiter is reading it wrong.
Dry. Or you can set it. You can adjust it in car. You can say, right, this is I'm on dry tires, so this is how many RPM equates to 60 miles an hour. I'm on a wet tire, so this is how many RPM equates to. And you can actually sometimes see a very minor difference on warm tires as well. So the teams will sometimes put a little bit of a fudge factor in there to give them, half a mile an hour to play with. But it was, there's been 2 or 3 races this year, haven't there, where you think this is the one that Red Bull are going to come unstuck at. It's a wet race, it's a dry race, it's a changing condition race. This is the one where they're going to trip up and somebody's going to snatch a win from under their nose, but hasn't happened.
Nope.
They were, if anything, even more impressive. Checo made a good call to pit at the end of the first lap when the rain hit, and took a huge swing at it and a huge bite out of Max's lead, and actually was leading for a little bit there when the rain came until Max managed to get back past him. But we saw a couple of unfortunate incidents. starting out on the Friday practice when Oscar Piastri span on the turn 3, the almost Bristol-esque banked corner there. And so Daniel Ricciardo had a bit of a strange sort of, he wrecked out of sympathy a little bit, and unfortunately fractured a metatarsal in his left hand, which, for a guy who's just got back into it, to suddenly have to go through that, is a real blow to his chances, I think, for next year.
Yeah, and we've seen these type hand injuries in racing, and usually it's due to the fact in an open wheel car when that tire hits the wall. If you don't take your hands off the steering wheel, it just
you're in trouble.
It jerks your hands so violently it's going to snap a bone in there somewhere. Where the metatarsal or your wrist or something like that. So, yeah, I mean that was kind of unfortunate that we didn't get to see Daniel continue. And I don't know how long he's going to be out. But who was the guy they put in the car?
Liam Lawson, who's been Red Bull's reserve driver for a while now. He's racing in the Super Formula Series in Japan and doing very well. I think he's second in the championship out there. But I think Daniel's going to miss 2 races. Is the talk? So he obviously missed Zandvoort, and he's going to miss Monza this coming weekend in Italy. But the aim is for him to be back in, Christian Horner said his aim is to be back in for Singapore in would be 2.5 weeks time, 3 weeks time, which is, it's not easy. Singapore's a brutally physical, demanding race on the driver, and for him to be going through something like that is going to be difficult. I mean, we look at what Lance Stroll went through, something similar at the start of the year where he fractured his wrist in a mountain biking accident, and did incredibly well to race the first few events, and really was a testament to his willpower and determination there. And Daniel's got that in bucket loads as well, so I'm sure he'll get through Singapore. But will that be to the best of his do justice to performance? We don't know. It does look, there's talk coming through the paddock that Daniel is a lock for next year in that AlphaTauri suit, or they're going to be rebranded for next year, whatever they're going to be called in 2024. And Liam Lawson was very, very impressive. Does that put pressure on Yuki Tsunoda for that seat? Are they going to look potentially to put Liam Lawson in there and drop Yuki Tsunoda? Obviously, the Honda thing is all part and parcel of that. The politics involved there. But who knows exactly what's going to happen there?
I was under the impression that AlphaTauri were pretty happy with Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah, but now they've got probably a better benchmark there in Ricciardo. If Daniel comes in and can match or beat Yuki, and then Liam Lawson comes in for a couple of races, because Liam Lawson was pretty damn impressive this last weekend. He didn't get any points, but he still, in very, very challenging circumstances, put up a really, really good showing. And another guy that didn't do his chances much good, for a long-term future in Formula One was Logan Sargent. Again, unfortunately, he had an unusual incident on the backside of the circuit there, where he appeared to sort of hit a curb around turn 8, I think it was, a right-hand curb. He hit the curb, and the car just stopped turning and went straight and suffered from a hydraulic failure, which is part of their power steering setup, and just hit the wall. The team say that it was a hydraulic failure, but the aggressive nature with which he was hitting those curbs, these cars are pretty fragile in some instances, and there's a certain resonance and a certain harmonic that will go through the chassis, and some of these components just aren't designed to take that. And he unfortunately was victim of that and put him out of the race, and that was the worst possible timing for him because he's under pressure.
Yeah, it was his best qualifying effort of his career.
Yeah,
he's coming out from the 10th spot. So
and there's that shadow of Mick Schumacher lingering large in the background. A lot of very positive things have been said about Mercedes and the job that Mick's been doing as a reserve and test driver for the Mercedes team. And we obviously know that Williams takes the Mercedes engine. Williams, with James Vowles, has a very, very close relationship with Mercedes. Toto Wolff used to be a board member at Williams, so there's always been that very, very close relationship there. And you look even back to when Valtteri was taken from Williams and promoted to the Mercedes team. You know, Williams is almost the unofficial sort of development team for Mercedes in some ways, with some of their drivers and some of their technologies. So it wouldn't surprise me if Mick doesn't get the call in that seat, and I'd like to see him get a second chance against, you know, a guy like Alex Albon that is, you know, his stock has certainly raised significantly in the last 18 months since getting back into Formula One. So there's a lot of dynamics in the back, you know, the back of the pack there. There's even been, you know, talk of Lance Stroll's future, you know, within the organisation and within the Aston Martin team there. So yeah, who knows how all that's going to play out? It's going to be a, you know, we're already talking the 2025 silly season. We're not even in 2024 yet. So
yeah, I know that's the crazy thing. It seems like more and more of this. I want to say that started in NASCAR with somebody, Matt Kenseth or somebody somewhere along the line. They signed somebody 2 years out. And I'm like, well, that's just really weird and then we've seen more and more of that. The thing about Logan Sargent though is Williams did one of the Williams principals did publicly say they're committed to Sargent and that we shouldn't read a lot of credence into the Mick Schumacher rumors. But you know, again, that's Williams saying this, and to your point, you know, Mercedes has a lot of pull in as far as what Williams does. So again, like, you know, the obvious you know, moral of the story is that Logan Sargent did nothing to help his chances of retaining that seat. I mean, the qualifying effort was wonderful. I mean, yeah, you know, he's
still behind Albon,
and then but you've got but if you're gonna you know, start off strong, you got to follow through. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is like a good golf swing. You know, if you don't follow through, that ball's not going anywhere. So
very true. But you know, you look at it. There's probably two guys at the moment in Formula One, I think, that have a seat at risk, and that's Logan Sargent and Lance Stroll. And you know, we look at it, and you hear the feedback from Williams, and they say they're committed to Logan Sargent, and you hear the feedback from Aston Martin. They're obviously committed to Lance because he's the owner's son. But you know, fundamentally, Formula One is a results business, and the team may be committed to them, but are the sponsors, and you need the sponsors on board. Are the sponsors prepared to have their second car running around, you know, 5 places behind the lead car, not getting the exposure, not getting the airtime, and getting open criticism by the media and the press, and there being a lot of speculation? That's not good for a brand, you know. So at some point, and it's probably more prevalent with Aston Martin than it is with Williams, but at some point, the Aston Martin sponsors, who obviously do pay, you know, quite a bit of money into the team, will start to raise questions about Lance's performances there, and they haven't been good.
No, especially when and mind you, with Alonso as a teammate, he's, you know, it's heavily.
Oh yeah,
it's a high benchmark to hit, but if you compare him with some of the other guys with roughly the same amount of experience in the field there, and yeah, I don't feel that the Lance is where he needs to be, but you know, at the end of the day, how much of that, you know, Lawrence Stroll, how much of that team does he control? You know, so.
And you also look at the, you know, Aston Martin. You've got to give credit where credit's due to Lawrence Stroll's done. You know, Lance's father there as a team owner. They've got a new facility at Silverstone. You know, state of the art facility, fantastic. Working environment for the engineers. They've been reasonably aggressive in the recruitment of engineers from other teams. You know, they're taking people from Mercedes, they're taking people from Red Bull and some of the other teams. So he's putting a lot of collateral into it. You know, a lot of money into this program.
Yeah, and bringing guys like Vettel and Alonso into the program.
Yeah,
to help,
but then you look, you know, on the same, in the same breath as that. You know, they're obviously doing this because they want to be championship contenders. Now, will there be, you know, obviously that's not happening in 23. Will it happen in 24? Probably not. The realistic opportunity for a team like Aston Martin to be, you know, to be pushing for a championship contender is 26, when we have a potentially new engine and a new aerodynamic package coming into the sport. Alonso is probably not going to be around for 26. in reality. He'd be 45 then. You know, and as impressively as he's done since his return, you know, Father Time keeps ticking. And excuse me, you know, will he be the top of his game, a 24 race a year, 23 race a year, Formula One standard driver when he's 45, going up against arguably Max will be in his mid to late 20s then. Lewis will, you know, be in his late 30s, early 40s. You know, will Lewis still be there? I don't know. You know, Leclerc will probably be early 30s. You know, will Alonso be that driver in 26 to win a championship? Will Lance Stroll be that guy in 26 to lead a team? I haven't seen anything yet to say will. So Aston Martin are going to have to start making some moves pretty quickly if they want to start securing these drivers for 2025 and 2026 onwards. You know, that's where the Polo rumors have come in with the Honda link up. But it'll be, they've got to start doing something and something reasonably quickly. And I think because of the nature of the relationship as sort of unfair maybe as it is, Lance is probably the easiest guy to get rid of because his dad just turns around and says, go to your room, you know?
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's like, you know, you got to ask Lawrence Stroll, why are you doing this? Just to provide your son with a hobby, or do you want to seriously contend for a Formula One championship? And given the resources that he's put into this thing, right? I think that he's seriously about making that a championship contending team. And if his son is not part of the picture, his son can be part of the picture, you know, he can be, you know, part of the administration of the team, or that's the test driver, the sim driver. But at the end of the day, you got to make a business decision. You got to run it like a business. You know, there are a lot of other folks, money in there at stake. So, yep.
Oh,
so, all right. So just about out of time. Just one other IndyCar note I forgot to mention. Talk about the silly season stuff. You know, it's even though it's not official that Romain Grosjean is not returning to Andretti. If you go to Romain Grosjean's website, all of his merchandise with DHL and Andretti on it is $10 for t-shirts. So if you want a good value on a obsolete item, you know, $10 for a racing t-shirt is a pretty good deal. All right. So, yep. And 20% off anything else on the site. So, but I am interested to see where he ends up next year if he's going around telling people he's got a deal. So, all right. So that's got us out of time. So thanks again to the Ferrari Motion Picture, Forza Motorsport, and Xbox, Luis Torres, Multimedia, the Alzheimer's Association. Thank you to Facebook Live, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Also, thanks to Sinister One Productions. Keith Hayes, our producer. Richard, thanks to you. Lee and Louise, thanks for nothing. Leaving us here hanging by ourselves. No, I know you guys are busy. Hope you're having a good night. I hope you got a chance to tune in and watch us. So, but most of all, I want to thank you folks watching us. Till next week, pick a winner for Monza real quick.
Let's pick who finishes second.
Yeah, we need to do that, right? So, because Max is going to win at Monza, right? So,
yeah, second for Monza.
I'll go Leclerc.
Damn it, I was going to say Leclerc.
Okay, I'll go Carlos Sainz then, and you can have Leclerc.
I'm going to go with Gasly.
I like Gasly. That's a good pick. All right, so now we're done.
Norris, screw it. Norris.
Okay, then I'll take Gasly. This is like we're trading baseball cards, you know. All right, that was fun. All right, so hey, now we are out of time. So listen, folks, appreciate you tuning in. Till next week, good night.
Thanks for watching Drafting the Circuits. Make sure to follow Drafting the Circuits on Facebook, Spotify, Twitter, and YouTube. Drafting the Circuits is a Sinister One production.